The moment this mushroom cloud rose over the Thar Desert, the balance of power in South Asia evaporated. India had successfully tested a nuclear weapon. Across the border, the Pakistani government immediately began a desperate scramble to restore parity. To counter this sudden shift, they initiated a covert program to develop their own weapon of mass destruction. Initial support for the program was fractured. While French President Valéry Giscard d'Estaing eventually withdrew Western cooperation after realizing the program's lethal intent, China remained involved, and Pakistani officials began a series of secretive, back-channel trips to North Korea. These shifting alliances and clandestine meetings created a massive intelligence blind spot. A hostile nuclear program was accelerating in the shadows, and without reliable international partners to provide oversight, the region faced a growing, unmonitored threat. When Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, pictured here mapping out the defense of her nation, discovered the scale of the Pakistani project, she mobilized the government's highest-level security resources. She summoned the leadership of the Intelligence Bureau and RAW, the nation's premier foreign intelligence agency. Gandhi issued a direct two-part mandate: determine the exact stage of Pakistan's nuclear technology, and find a way to neutralize the progress. With diplomatic channels closed and satellite technology of the era unable to see inside reinforced concrete, the Indian government determined that traditional observation was insufficient. They needed a physical presence inside Pakistan to gather the evidence that distant sensors could not. To lead this effort, India deployed operative Ajit Doval under a rigorous diplomatic cover. On the official rosters of the high-security capital of Islamabad, Doval was listed as the first secretary of the Indian embassy. But this official status was a front. His real mission required him to operate as a deep-cover spy, often abandoning his diplomatic protection to gather intelligence on the street. His primary target was a heavily fortified, top-secret nuclear research laboratory located in the Kahuta region. Gaining proximity to such a sensitive site required a complete physical transformation. Doval adopted the identity of a beggar, a disguise that allowed him to move through restricted areas and observe security patterns without attracting the attention of military patrols. This strategy exploited a gap in conventional security. While the facility was guarded against technical intrusion and military assault, Doval lingered in the dust of the perimeter for hours, gathering visual data from the ground. Doval still faced a significant technical hurdle. He needed to confirm the presence of radioactive material without ever crossing the facility's fortified threshold. Indian intelligence targeted the everyday routines of the Kahuta scientists. They identified the specific local barbershops the staff frequented and conducted a quiet operation to sweep up discarded hair clippings from the floors. These biological samples were carefully collected, sealed, and smuggled across the border to be analyzed by Indian nuclear physicists. Exposure to specific nuclear materials causes radioactive isotopes to bind to the protein structure of human hair. By analyzing these smuggled fragments, India could detect the exact types of radiation the scientists were handling inside the Kahuta lab. This forensic evidence was eventually bolstered by the recruitment of an inside mole, a lab worker who provided internal documents in exchange for payment. Through the forensic analysis of hair samples and the placement of an internal mole, India obtained a detailed profile of the Pakistani nuclear program. Maintaining this dual identity required constant vigilance. In a high-stakes environment, even the smallest oversight in a disguise can lead to immediate and fatal consequences. Doval experienced this risk firsthand at the Auliya Dargah in Islamabad. While he was blending into the crowd, a local man noticed Doval had pierced ears, a common Hindu tradition, and confronted him, nearly exposing his true identity. Another precarious moment occurred in the crowded streets of Lahore, a city known for its dense, bustling public gatherings. During a crowded Qawwali performance, a bystander physically alerted Doval that the adhesive on his fake beard was failing. It was a second where his entire cover rested on a few centimeters of loosening tape. These incidents demonstrate the extreme fragility of human intelligence work. Years of high-level preparation and national security planning can be compromised by a single physical detail or a minor equipment failure. Doval managed to sustain this high-pressure double life for 7 years. Despite the constant threat of discovery, he maintained a steady flow of intelligence that allowed India to monitor every major milestone of the Kahuta program. While the nuclear race is often described through the lens of high-level diplomacy and physics, its most critical data points were gathered by operatives working in the streets, far from the safety of the laboratory. To explore more declassified operations from the world of international espionage, subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comments which secret mission we should analyze in our next deep dive. Thanks for watching.